On UI7 News, President Obama and President-elect Donald Trump met at the White House today. We have more on how students on campus are reacting to this change in presidency.
Plus, the Illinois Maker Lab got a new partner. We'll show you how the newest addition to their lab was made.
And Illinois men's basketball is looking forward to their season opener. We have a look at what tomorrow's matchup has in store for the Illini.
Your UI7 News starts right now.
Richmond Journalism Teaching Studio at the University of Illinois campus, UI7 News, your U of I news source.
Good evening, I'm Abraham Koshi.
And I'm Jimmy Jackson.
President Obama met with President-elect Donald Trump at the White House today to start a transition.
Just 2 days ago, this race had Americans on the edge of their seats, including U of I students. The election results are in, and some people are still at a loss of words today. And what was predicted to be a landslide victory for Hillary Clinton turned out to be a close but exciting night for Donald Trump. University of Illinois' Daniel Stewart recognizes that voters did not want another establishment politician in the White House. Ultimately, Donald Trump seized on that opportunity.
Within the Democratic Party as well as within the Republican Party, we've had a kind of an outsider challenging the established party leaders, and that's been something that both parties have had to recognize.
In what is being called one of the biggest upsets in American politics history, 2 days after the election, people are still trying to digest Trump's historic victory.
Probably initial reaction, I was really shocked. I didn't really see it coming. I was pretty confident going into it, and I think that most people were. I mean, even Trump's campaign.
The media has kind of been slanted in her direction, so the fact that Trump was able to come back and just show everyone that the people were for him and not for Hillary, that was amazing to me.
The big question now is, will Donald Trump and the Republican Party be able to work together and across the aisle with the Democrats?
Personally, no. I think that their views are two ends of a spectrum, so I don't think that in the near future at all they'll be working together, but with everything being controlled by one party, my main concern is just losing all the progress that we have made.
Donald Trump's speech, his victory speech, he called on the Democrats and the Republican Party coming together, and I believe that it's something that we really have to focus on because the country is more divided than ever.
For now, this loss for Clinton will just be another crack in the glass ceiling. In Urbana, I'm Jimmy Jackson, UI7 News.
The election of Donald Trump has led to celebrations and protests.
Today in the Richmond studio, we're joined by a Trump supporter and U of I student, Katie Spangler.
Thank you, Katie, for joining us.
Thank you.
Tell us, where were you on election night, and what was your reaction to the result?
Well, it wasn't really anything exciting. I mean, there was a group of us that started out the night together, and because it went so late, slowly but surely, everyone kind of dropped off. And so, I mean, I was at my apartment, but it was very exciting, especially because, I mean, I think that with the Republican majority in the House and the Senate, as well as a Republican president-elect, we have a lot of opportunities to shake things up, which is something that personally I think that, needs to happen in Washington, D.C. However, I also feel a strong sense of urgency because Republicans, I feel like, have that responsibility now to show that, conservatism is something that that America needs right now. It's the best path for our country. And so I'm excited for the opportunities, but also it's time to get to work, and I'm excited to see that happen.
Yeah, definitely. How does it feel, being a woman and a, conservative voter, being a woman when there's a woman running for president, there's the opportunity to have, the very first female president. How does it feel to, kind of be on the other side of that?
Well, I mean, I am a very educated voter and tried to do what I could to make sure that I was voting for the right person. And at this time, I just didn't feel like Hillary represented my views and represented who I was as a woman and as a conservative and as a Republican. And so that's simply why I didn't vote for it. I wanted someone in the White House that represented me, and I didn't feel like Hillary did that. And so I'm excited for the thought of, a woman president. I think that is something that our country is going towards, and I think someday it will happen, but I didn't think that this election was the time for that.
And kind of going off of that, what are you hoping comes out of Trump's presidency?
Yeah, one of the main things that I hope comes out of this would be, the Supreme Court is going to have, we're going to have new justices because it's just getting to that time. And so one of the main reasons that I continue to support Trump throughout his run for presidency was the fact that he would be selecting those new justices. And so as a Republican, I wanted my views to be heard on that level. And so, I'm really excited to see that happen.
Awesome. Thank you, Katie, for stopping by UI7 News tonight.
Thank you.
The result of the presidential election has caught many people off guard, and UI7's Corey Drake tells you how some U of I students feel the need to start a conversation.
On Tuesday, we saw a nail-biting race to the White House. While some celebrated the outcome, many students needed emotional support. So a number of campus resources created post-election healing spaces for students yesterday. I talked to a student who told me what the healing spaces meant to her. Skylar Johnson has been coming to the Bruce D. Nesbitt African American Cultural Center for years. Yesterday, she visited for a different reason. The Cultural Center held a special healing space for those triggered by the presidential election results.
Everything that Trump stands for is what this country was built on. It's white supremacy, it's racism, it's sexism, it's a lot of hate.
I pledge to every citizen of our land that I will be president for all Americans.
Matthew Eglin is a student leader at the Cultural Center.
We had several student leaders contact our assistant director, Chiquita, and say, hey, can we have a healing space? And the healing spaces go on whenever something, traumatic or something detrimental happens to one of the martial arts groups.
The Bruce D. Nesbitt African American Cultural Center is just one of the resource centers on campus implementing these healing spaces. Other places include the LGBT Resource Center and the Women's Resource Center. Despite the negativity, Johnson hopes that people continue to stay positive and grounded.
When we talk about hope, we also need to talk about the reality. It's great to have hope. It's great to say, you know what, we can push through, we can do this, but we need to be concerned about what could possibly happen in the future. What will the future look like for our communities, the Black community, Latina community, LGBT community?
For UI7 News, I'm Corey Drake.
Some students may be trying to heal, while others are opting to hug. Students gathered on the quad yesterday to spread the love through free hugs. The students gathered together to hold hands in support of positivity on campus. This train of hand-holding then turned into a Soul Train line with singing and dancing. The event started as a simple Facebook event. Organizers Zusha Rodriguez says the outcome was more than she could have ever hoped for.
My heart is swelling and bursting with so much joy at the thought that, they are one. This is all individuals. I am one individual, and all we did was say we're going to come out here and we're going to hold hands, and now this is what has transformed.
The students hope this event will inspire others to help spread hope and love.
And now moving on to the greater Champaign-Urbana area, Unit 4 schools are celebrating the passing of a big referendum. UI7's Julia Hinders has a story on the board's next steps now that their hard work has finally paid off.
After 3 attempts, hours of campaigning, and getting a community of school members behind it, the Unit 4 referendum was decisively passed Tuesday evening. With about 70% of votes counted in Champaign County, the referendum passed with a 65% vote yes. President of the school board, Chris Kleppel, said Wednesday that the board must now make decisions on how to move forward.
I think as we look forward here, moving forward, the board leadership met with administration and kind of discussed next steps and putting into motion some of the things that we had been discussing before.
The school board will begin meeting the second Monday in December to begin planning timelines for each of the 8 projects. The largest of these projects is the $83.1 million renovations to Central High School. And although there's much work to be done before these renovations begin, Members of the board say they're letting the success of their hard work soak in.
There's a lot of work to be done, and there's a lot of conversation to be had. So taking that deep breath, kind of enjoying that, and then moving forward.
Senior Dallas Caldwell says the renovations to Central High School are just as important to her, and that they are about so much more than the money.
This will help, like, education. I mean, a lot of kids don't pay attention in class because, you know, the books, like, people are bored. And if we have more technology, this can help them stay more on top of stuff and focused and help them get the better grades that they want.
The board says they are still months away from making big decisions, such as choosing architects and bidding out each project. But they hope initial meetings will set a good tone for the future of these projects. In Champaign, Julia Hinders, UI7 News.
Another sunny, gorgeous day in central Illinois today.
Wonder if we're going to have a good night in store, too. Let's check in live with UI7's Amelia McGoverill with a look at tonight's Fastcast.
It's that time of year when it's getting dark at around 5, and right now it's about 55 degrees with clear skies. Still mild for this time of year, but what we have to look forward to is a frosty and cold start to the weekend. Now let's look at our Fastcast for tonight. When the sun is gone, so is the heat. Tonight we are looking at temperatures getting to a low of 42 degrees with wind speeds around 13 miles per hour. That wind will make it slightly colder, so be sure to bundle up if you're outside tonight. I'll be back in a few minutes with a forecast for the weekend and that football game in Wisconsin.
Campus will be celebrating 20 years of sexual assault prevention courses this weekend.
And there's a new man making waves on campus. More when we come back.
While students are healing, they are also advocating. There is a question and answer session tonight at 7 p.m. about sexual assault on campus. The forum is hosted by Black Students for Revolution and Students Against Sexual Assault. The groups are discussing a demand for university to work against sexual violence with campus sororities and fraternities. UI7 spoke to Kayla Lee, one of the students leading the initiative.
And what we're hoping is that fraternity and sorority affairs and the University of Illinois work together to extend funding to make GUARD available for each and every fraternity member on this campus. And we're hoping that what that does is raise awareness about consent and sexual assault.
The students hosting the Q&A aren't the only ones working against sexual violence. This weekend marks the 20th anniversary of U of I's first year Campus Acquaintance Rape Education Workshop, commonly known as FICARE. Assistant Director of the Women's Resource Center, Molly McClay, says the workshop has had a clear impact on students.
Students' attitudes shift after the FICARE workshop, and they definitely become aware of resources, how to support survivors, and bystander intervention.
Since 1996, the U of I has mandated its first-year students to take the course. It was the first college-mandated sexual assault prevention program in the country.
There are new developments for U of I's administration. The university's Board of Trustees today approved a 5-year plan for funding. This is more than after a year of dispute between the governor and the state legislature. The board approved the plan this morning in Chicago. It's called the Investment, Performance, and Accountability Commitment. It will give $662 million a year to the 3 university campuses until 2022. This is in the hopes that the result will be stable funding. This money will be provided contingent on the university meeting certain student retention and graduation rates. President Timothy Killeen sent out a mass mail this afternoon. It addressed how this plan hopes to ease the anxiety about the budget and provide a meaningful way forward for the campuses.
After a tense week, Americans are preparing to celebrate veterans. Fighting Illini Army ROTC will be holding a service at 5 o'clock tomorrow evening at the Armory. The tri-service ceremony with Army, Navy, and Air Force ROTC units will be followed by a reception. The ceremony will recognize and honor the sacrifices and contributions made by military veterans. The university has a large veteran population. In the fall 2015, there were 315 students enrolled and veterans enrolled. There are 124 grad students and 191 undergrads.
The Illinois Maker Lab has a welcoming new face. UI7's Miranda Holloway tells you how months of work by staffs and volunteers got him his new gig.
A man named Max came to life with the help of Illinois Maker Lab. The 3D man has been in the printing process for 2 months. Yesterday, all the pieces came together. Maker Lab volunteer Erin McKee is happy to see the detailed process build up to making their new artificial friend.
First time we're constructing him as a whole person. We've done like little bits and pieces at a time, but we're really excited to see him all come together because we've seen literally every part of him and want to see him whole.
Maker Lab is the first lab of its kind to take on building a man like Max. One was made before by a manufacturing company called Voodoo. As a smaller operation, Maker Lab director Vishal Shashdev wanted to prove what was possible in a lab like theirs.
It was just to show what's possible about building a full life-size model out of desktop printers. And Eric Reinfish, who's the executive director of the lab, thought it would be a cool project to show off what's possible.
Printing the man was not a small task. Each of the pieces took 14 or 15 hours to print. They were made in the third-floor Business Instructional Facility lab.
When completed, Max will be 6'1", and he'll be made of 88 different parts. These parts are 17 different colors, and no two colors are touching one another.
Volunteers and staff members spent time popping in pieces and gluing them together. They recruited help from interested onlookers.
So exciting to get people involved out here in Biff. We have people just walking by that are really interested and like me have probably never wandered up to the third floor before and I started discovering what we have to offer and all the cool things you can do with free running.
Once all the glue is dry and Max is standing upright, he will be dressing for the season and hanging out in the Maker Lab's Biff studio. In Champaign, Miranda Holloway, UI7 News.
So Jimmy, didn't you help put together that thing last night?
Yeah, my friend Billy, he actually works at the Maker Lab, and he took me there last night because he had to do some work, and by surprise, I just ended up helping them put the pieces together.
And what was that process like?
That was pretty cool. They had to use some super glue and some bolts on the inside, but it was pretty cool.
Nice. Well, the warm weather, speaking of weather, the warm weather might not be sticking around for much longer.
Coming up, we'll have a look at your weather for the weekend.
It may really get chilly this weekend.
Yeah, let's check with UI7's Amelia Mugavero to see what's in store for the weekend.
That's right, Abe. We're definitely going to get into those cooler temperatures this week. And for this time of year, that makes a lot more sense. So for our local weather, we're still looking at mild temperatures right now. Right now, we're at 56 degrees in Peoria, 53 degrees in Champaign, and 54 degrees in Decatur. And those 50-degree mild temperatures are continuous throughout the Midwest region. We have Kansas City at 63, St. Louis at 58, and Indianapolis at 54. And it also doesn't feel like fall throughout the country either. Right now, the coldest temperatures we're seeing is Boston at 48 and Cleveland at 55. And down there in Miami, they're enjoying some 70-degree weather. But it doesn't look like fall, but it will get colder tonight when we get into those 40-degree, when we get into that 40-degree weather. Right now, it's going to be 42 with wind gusts around 13 miles per hour, and that's going to make it a little bit colder, so bring a jacket if you're going to be outside. And then tomorrow when the sun comes out, it's going to be up into the mid-50s, but also that wind gust is going to make it slightly colder, and we're going to look at partly cloudy skies that will also make it colder. But for the 5-day forecast, we're going to see those temperatures drop into our freezing temperatures for the first time in our fall season. On Saturday and Sunday, it's going to be 31, which is definitely going to be colder than what we've been experiencing. But those temperatures are going to slowly increase on Monday and Tuesday. We're going to have a high of those upper 50s again. But overall, we're slowly moving into more fall weather. And for November, this is definitely a breeze for this time of year.
Man, it's been really cold around here. This morning I woke up and my room was like freezing, so I had to close the window.
And it's going to be even colder up in Wisconsin this Saturday for the game.
Yeah.
Are you guys ready to break out your winter coats?
I think so.
I'm not going to the game, but I'm ready to break out the winter coats.
I think we're going to need it. It's going to come handy over the next month before winter break.
I'm not ready for 30 degrees.
Me neither.
We've been blessed with good weather so far.
Hey, thanks, Amelia.
Joining us now in the studio, we have Devin here with the weather coming up.
It's going to be a big weekend for Illini basketball and volleyball as both teams face off against Wisconsin. Basketball also tips off this weekend. We'll be right back with a preview of the game. Illini basketball is back in action. Tomorrow, the Illinois men's team will face off against the Southeast Missouri Redhawks. This will be the first regular season game at the newly renovated State Farm Center. The team had 2 exhibition games last week, beating both Washington and Lewis universities. The Illini are looking to get off to a fast start this season after dropping 3 of their first 4 games at the start of last season. The team's first 5 games will be at home, though, and won't have to go on the road until they face off against West Virginia on the 24th at the neutral site of Brooklyn, New York. Perhaps this homestand will give the Illini the fast start they are looking for. Tip-off is at 8 tomorrow night on the Big Ten Network. More Illini basketball news as the Illini have signed 3 student-athletes to national letters of intent. The 3 players are 4-star guard Trent Frazier from Wellington, Florida, 3-star guard Javon Pickett from Belleville, Illinois, and 4-star guard DeMonte Williams from Peoria. Coach Gross speaks about his excitement with this year's recruiting class.
You know, we feel really good about the start that we've gotten in recruiting. We still have 1 or 2 more that we hope to add, to that class because it's an important class for us, being that we're losing 6 guys.
However, Illinois could potentially miss out on the number 1 player in the state and number 25 in the nation, Jeremiah Tillman. The 6'10" big man has not yet signed a national letter of intent with the Illini during the early period, after already committing to Illinois in July. All hope is not lost, though, as the Illini could still sign him during the early period, which ends on Wednesday, or during the spring period, which begins on April 12th. Illini football is coming off of a tough win at home this past Saturday, but it's not going to get any easier as they face off against the number 7 ranked Wisconsin team on Saturday in Madison. The 3-6 Illini are 28-point Vegas underdogs against the 7-2 Badgers. The Illini dropped the game last year against Wisconsin by a score of 24-13. Despite facing off against a tough opponent, Coach Lovie Smith remains excited for Saturday's game.
But what an opportunity for our young football team to have a chance to play a great team like that, have to go on the road and play a better game than we played this past week.
If the Illini have any hope of ending the season with a 500 record, then they'll have to start with pulling off an upset against a tough Wisconsin team. Though winning 2 of the final 3 games give the Illini just a slight chance at a bowl game. The football team isn't the only Illini group that have a tough game against a top 10 ranked Wisconsin team this weekend. The volleyball team will face off against the Badgers for the 2nd time this season tomorrow in Huff Hall. The number 3 ranked Badgers already beat the Illini earlier in the season in 4 sets. The Illini were ranked 14th in the country by the AVCA poll during the preseason and even remained in the top 25 before dropping all of their past 5 matches. The 14-11 Illini are currently 8th in the Big Ten standings and have another tough game against number 2 ranked Minnesota on Saturday. The good news for the Illini, though, is that their next 4 games are at home, where they are currently 6-3 on the season. That's all for UI7 Sports. Back to you at the desk.
Thanks, Devin. There's an old saying that you're never too old to try something. That's apparently the case for 93-year-old Peggy Gruner, who recently crossed off an adventure off her bucket list. Gruner traveled from her home in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, to the Mall of America to zipline across the top of the mall. She called it one of the most exciting things she's ever done. That wraps up tonight's edition of UI7 News. Be sure to follow UI7 News on Twitter and Facebook.
Good night and have a great weekend.
I think it was okay.